Our tribute to the late Tony Wilson now on BBC4 and the astonishing success of Manchester's Factory Records. From Joy Division to Happy Mondays. Very strong language from the start.
In a dark northern city in the late 70s, 5 dreamers built a record label, Factory. 3 classic bands, Joy Division, New Order and Happy Mondays, and Britain's first super club, the Hacienda. Led by local TV personality Tony Wilson, they created a unique collision between conceptual art and street music. This is the story of how Factory pioneered Britain's independent pop culture, imagined a new Manchester, and blew a shed load of money. Manchester, the heart and soul of Factory Records. In the 60s and 70s, a crumbling remnant of the Industrial Revolution, where slums were demolished to make way for bad modern housing and misplaced shopping developments. A great immigrant city in decline.
Somehow the street lights didn't make things lighter, they made things darker. There was no sense that the canal was somewhere that was for living beside. It was rats and drunks and horror, little black seepages. So it had a kind of strange atmosphere that still seemed to be very much from its past, as if we would never escape its past.
If you worked in Manchester, everyone would work in Manchester, so in the day it would be heaving with people. And then at night, it was like rats escaping. It would just empty. And at night, the city would be a ghost town.
The dereliction of the city in the mid-70s, as my LA friend said to me recently, I visited in the 70s, so it was like fucking Detroit, and it was worse than Detroit.
But Manchester didn't have its own indigenous pop music like Detroit's Motown. And the British charts in the mid-70s looked and sounded like this.
Hear someone say, we just haven't got a clue what to do. Does anyone know the way? There's got to be a way to Blockbuster.
In the 70s, popular culture was like Mud, Tiger Feet and The Sweets and Gary Glitter. I always say his name on television anymore. And I just find it, to go from the Beatles and the Stones to Motown to that stuff was.
That's neat, that's neat, that's neat, that's neat. I really love your Tiger Feet. I really love your Tiger Feet. Your Tiger Feet.
The whole business of pop culture, and particularly music culture, had become so commoditized. It was not really a kind of a touchable experience anymore. There was a Manchester music scene, but it tended to be music that could have come from anywhere in the world. So you've got your Hollies and your 10cc's and your Bee Gees and your Barclay James Harvest. They don't speak in northern accents. They're not singing songs about feces.
With the exception of 10cc, who I thought were great, the rest of it was just absolute dirge. I remember going to the Pre-Trade Hall, you know, just for the sake of seeing bands sometimes, and they just get like 20-minute guitar solos by some really scruffy bloke.
But on the 4th of June 1976, Manchester's Free Trade Hall was invaded by a band from London. They played to a very small audience.
I like to think of like the Big Bang, like the universe. It all starts something about that big, doesn't it? Like absolutely tiny thing goes bang, and it's just the whole universe comes out of that. I mean, your head can't understand that, so why should your head ever bother trying to understand the Sex Pistols gig? It's the same kind of thing. It was our Big Bang. It created our musical universe.
You know, the thing that was interesting is it was set up in the Lesser Free Trade Hall, which was a little theatre, like a lecture theatre. So it had this weird quality of being like a kind of avant-garde lecture, as if Johnny Rotten was lecturing to us. This, you know, like Darwin, you know, The world has changed. This is what it is now. This is evolution is the truth. The Bible is dead, you know, and so we all believed it.
And we don't care.
Someone else was there that night.
Robert Johnson went to the crossroads and made a deal with the devil. And only when someone like John gets on stage and is screaming do you realise it was a great deal. It's worth selling your soul for. It is so powerful. And I went out like everybody else did that night and thought, my world has changed.
Tony Wilson was a local boy made good. He had returned to his native Manchester via Cambridge University and a promising career in TV journalism when he took a job as a film reporter for the city's flagship independent station, Granada, in 1973.
It's certain that the government have for quite a while been thinking that the oil companies are the villains of the piece.
Hi, Tony.
Wilson also had a sense of humour about what he did.
Tony, this is Beverly.
Nice to meet you.
Kamikaze Corner was his big thing, where he would do these stupid stunts.
You want me to run? The fence, the barbed wire fence!
Wilson's real passions were sex, drugs and, most importantly, rock and roll, none of which were being catered for by daytime TV. But when Granada attempted to break the monopoly of the BBC's Top of the Pops and Old Grey Whistle test with a local music show, Wilson grabbed the studio stool.
Good evening and welcome to So It Goes, a, or perhaps the, new music show.
The Pistols returned to the Free Trade Hall, but this time Manchester's first punk band, the Buzzcocks, played support. Punk was now an official movement, and Tony Wilson was the first to show a television audience what it looked and sounded like.
One of the most reviewed and most reviled rock phenomenon of recent weeks. We got a few votes. Sex Pistols, you can hear them warming up in the background even now. Take it away!
Rock was being born again, both here and in America, and Wilson was discovering his own destiny.
Whenever a band played at Sunday night, Monday night, Wednesday night, whenever and wherever, Tony could always be relied upon to turn up with a Granada cameraman to record this moment, to kind of capture what was going on.
If he went to a gig, people would laugh at him because he would turn up in his Granada TV newsreader clothes with his slightly middle-class hippie haircut.
The only reason I'm doing this is to get my face on more screens, to get my name in more papers and more print, and to expand my fame.
I am the passenger, and I ride through the city's backsides. I see the stars come out of the sky, yeah, the bright and hollow sky. You know, it looks so good tonight.
I give a lot of credit for the 42 bands I put on television for the first time, be it Iggy, be it Blondie, be it whoever. But to my real credit, only I